So maybe if we can start, if you can tell us your name and your company, what your company does, where it's located.
Okay, so my name is Andrea. I'm Italian. I live in Milan. My activity is in Milan. We have an activity which is in the world of fitness, specifically in the world of EMS, electromuscular stimulation. Is quite a new business for Italy because it was introduced in Italy in 2014, so something still pretty new. We have these two gyms in which we currently do personal training with our customers. The brand name is Body Vai, and it's our brand name. We founded in 2014, and so it's 6 years. We have these two studios which are running, I would say, pretty well. So we are happy about the acceptance of our customers to this type of activity.
Okay, so can you tell us the story of how the how the coronavirus started affecting your business? You know, how you found out, what decisions you made as more information became available to you.
Okay, so basically the information at the beginning were absolutely not clear. So we start having some information in the middle of February, like, okay, there are some cases in Italy. There are these two Chinese persons that have been affected by coronavirus. But at the beginning, clearly there was no clear information at all. Clearly, our business, it's a particular business under this point of view, because as you can imagine, one of the first reaction by the government was we have to avoid any situation in which people are together, crowded in the same area. We are a specific gym, so we are not exactly a gym where 40, 50 people, they stay together in one room dancing or making exercises, because as I mentioned before, our type of activity is a one-to-one activity, maximum 1 to 2. So that means that there is one trainer and 2 people that are taking this lesson and this type of training. So it's not exactly a typical gym. And by the way, we are not within big spaces like 400, 500 square meter of spaces. And we are simple shops. So shops on the road, on the street, 80 square meter per shop. So really a particular situation. But the fact that this is a particular situation was even worse, because it was not clear to us and also to the public government whether we were really a gym or if we were a normal shop. So under this point of view, the confusion was even worse for our business, because it was not exactly clear under which categories we were to be aligned and consequently treated. For this reason, what was our reaction? My reaction and the one of the other shareholders was, okay, let's keep for sure the situation of safety, so all the hygienic situation at the highest level as possible. Let's avoid that we have more than what I say to you, people within the shops. So let's enter only one after the other. Let's wait that one is out before entering the next one. So everything really carefully treated, and in order to see that under this point of view, so we are able to go ahead, because on the other side, the other risk was let's close everything immediately. But you can clearly imagine what was the counter effect of this. The counter effect was no turnover, no income, no way of paying our trainer. So at the end, what we did at the beginning was a sort of let's see and let's react step by step to the information received from the government. Was not clear. I have to tell you, was not clear at all. There was a lot of confusion overall around the employee and around the people that they were there to work, because for them there was also a situation of okay, if I go ahead working, I get my payroll, and this is good. But on the other side, if I go ahead working, the risk is that if it's a real big issue, because at the beginning we didn't know if it was a big issue or not, that this type of job or this type of activity can even increment this type of issue. So was really a situation of debating, internal debating, I have to say also internal discussion with the trainer, and it was really tough to take a final decision. At the end, unfortunately, the final decision was once at the beginning of March, I would say around the 8th or the 9th, was decided everything has to close. And clearly, we respected this rule because we didn't want to go against any rule. It's clear. On the other side, it was finally clear that there was no other option of doing this. Another thing that we did, was to look at the other companies that were doing the same job, because also for them was a clear chaos. Because then there was also the chaotic situation of Milan can do so, but the other region cannot do this other, and so was even more a mess. What we did is we tried to talk each other with our competitors. So usually there is not a constant relation among competitors. In this case, we did a little bit more, and so we tried to understand also what was their position. So in order to have at least a clear and common position in front of the authority in case of any control. Then, I repeat, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how to say, there was a clear rule that say at the end everything closed, and so the debate was closed too. But at the beginning was a chaos.
Okay, very interesting everything that you say. I wanted to ask you to go deeper into one specific thing, that it was difficult for you to explain to the government, or for the government to understand the type of business that you ran, kind of what the interaction was between the trainer and the trainee. How was it done? How could it be done better?
This is a very good question. I have to say that although we usually, and I personally am quite, let me say, we find always something to criticize our government. I have to say that in this specific situation was really, really difficult to draw a line. The point is that in a situation like that, whatever you do, you make a mistake. And I'm talking from a government point of view. Because at the end of the story, if you decide, let's close everything immediately, then everybody says, you're a catastrophist, you are destroying the economy, and so on and so forth. If you do not do this, then they say you are a killer because you are going to kill the people. So at the end of the story, whatever you do is difficult. What they did in Italy was a gradual situation in which step by step they was increasing the level of stop. But clearly, even when you do this, it's difficult, once again, to draw a specific and clear line. Because you can imagine in Italy the type of, not only in Italy, because I'm sure that also many other countries have this type of issue. How many different aspects of the personal life, of the economic life there are. So at the end of the story, in a rush, because this was done in a rush, I have to say, to define something that covers everything, it's almost impossible. So at the end of the story, you have to interpret what the law say and what the government decide step by step. And on top of this, you have to understand how the people that have to let you apply what are the rules, do they interpret it? Because this is another step. I just make you an example, and I have also the registration if you need. At the beginning, once there is this issue, I start calling the local government of Milan, and I ask, can you please help me in understanding how do I have to interpret this rule? Shall I close? Can I stay open? What do I have to do? And very openly they say to me, we are not able to give you an answer. Please call an higher level of the government. In that case, la protezione civile, the civil protection. I call the civil protection. I got a person on the phone, and was really kind, this person, because very honestly said to me, you are right. If I read this rule, and if I read what has been stated by the government, and if I hear from you what is your activity and how your activity works, it's really difficult to understand if you are in or if you're out. So at the end, you have just to use the common sense, your logic, and trying to apply in the best way as possible the rules that, unfortunately, in this period of rush and of chaotic emergency, they cannot be so clear and so stricted to define everything in a precise way.
Right, right. So another question that we have is, how did you handle the communication and the dialogue with your employees throughout this? What are some things that you learned that you could recommend to other businesses on how to handle that part?
We have usually a chat in which ourselves and let me say the coordinator of the trainer and the other shareholders, we are all together there, and so we use a lot that chat. If I have to look back, I would say that it's probably not the best way to communicate in a situation like that. Because at the end, what is written in a chat is always very dry. You do not always understand what the person is meaning behind what is written there. So I can tell you very openly that at the beginning, there was a clear situation in the chat in which it appears that myself and the shareholders wanted to keep open because we wanted to invoice and we don't care about the life of our trainer and of our customer. For us, only what was important was the turnover. On the other side, the other people, the trainers, that they wanted to close because for them there was ethic to close, blah, blah, blah. And so this has created clearly a sort of conflict that probably if we would have talked, if we would have met, and if we would have the chance to look each other into the eyes, probably this would have not happened. Then clearly it has been everything recovered, but I have to say that if I would come back, I would manage this not in a writing chat, but talking directly with the person.
I see. And what's the situation in Italy with those employees? Are they going to is the government providing them with a salary or part of a salary? How is that working out in Italy?
In Italy, is working out that clearly we as a gym, we have even another particular situation because the way in which people are working in the gym and the fitness area is completely different from the normal employee. So they have been considered like independent workers that they just go there and work, and if they work, they have been paid. If they do not work, they are not paid. On the other side, the normal employee of a normal company, they have different treatment. So it's also difficult under this point of view, not difficult. There is a big difference among these two categories. In the categories of trainee, clearly trainer is even more difficult to have a sort of social coverage, just because the type of contract does not consider it, and so for them it's even harder. That was also the reason why, until I would have preferred to work, so that also they could receive the salary. The other employee, the one that they are not under the contract of the fitness, in that case, the government has the so-called social amortization, which foresee a payment of 80% of their normal salary. Probably the issue is that the timing of the payment of this 80% is usually quite long. And indeed, it just came out yesterday that the bank will guarantee the payment of it in a shorter period of time, so that they put between the workers that they receive this compensation and the government who pays. So the bank will be a sort of cousin in the middle who is compensating the long timing of it.
I see. And has the government come up with a solution for these freelancers or these like single person companies like the trainers?
So far, the only solution is a subsidiary of 600 euros for the month of March. This is so far what they have done. It's not yet clear if it will be also done for April, because I assume that also April we won't be able to open back again this activity. So far, they just confirmed it for March.
So
we have still also to wait for an answer by the specific association of fitness, which probably would be able of providing also something else on top to these guys.
So has your company found a way of adapting the service, providing some of that training via video conference, or somehow modify what you do to try to continue a stream of revenue and maintain the clients?
Maintain the clients, yes. For more revenue, unfortunately not. I mean, what the trainer did is they send out videos through email to the customer, just showing them how they can keep fit in this period. Bear in mind that our activity is an activity which is based on the electromuscular stimulation machinery. So without the machinery, it's basically zero, our activity. So it's really tough to compensate the lack of the machinery with a normal activity or a normal exercise. Nevertheless, they did this and we did this just at least not to lose the contact with the customer. Because clearly the big risk is that with an activity like that, but in general, with all the activity of fitness, once people lose the habits of having a particular type of training, they do not come back. It's unfortunately a typical human behavior where overall in Italy, where gym and fitness activity, they are a duty, they are not a pleasure. So once you can escape from the duty, you don't come back to the duty. And unfortunately, this will be another big disaster for our activity. Because usually also in normal situation of life, we lose customers during the summer period, because in the summer period, when there is the shutdown of 2 weeks, they lose these habits, and in September, it's always tough to get them back, as well after the Christmas period. So you can imagine after a break of 1 month least, probably 2 months, saying to the people, hey, guys, don't forget that you had a subscription by us. Come back here to us. It will be clearly a nightmare, and it will be clearly a situation in which we will have to recover back again all the customer, like if we would have opened brand new in June 2020.
Wow, that's really complicated. Another question regarding, during this whole time in mid-February until now, for your business, for making decisions, and I know you mentioned this, partially in your previous answers, but what sources of information were you using? Which sources of information did you think were the most valuable for you or most important for you for making decisions? What would you recommend, business people in other countries where the pandemic is starting, in terms of what information to use or to trust to make decisions about how to run their businesses?
Clearly, the most important one are the official information from the government. And so every time there was a new exit of a new rule and a new statement, clearly we were there reading it. The difficult situation is, as I mentioned before, to interpret it, and in some other cases also to read it. Because if you start reading it and you're not a lawyer, you start seeing some point referred to the law of 1975, article number 2, and so if you are not a specialist of the law, it's sometimes tough. So my suggestion is take the official law, and if you have a consultant or a lawyer which is working for you, send it to him and ask him to interpret this for you, which is what we did. Because at the end of the story, once there was this statement, I think it was at the 2nd or 3rd of March, I sent to my lawyer and say, please, can you interpret this for me and let me know what should I read there? And I had another point on top. What we tried to do, but then came out the final clause and so was unuseful. We pleased our lawyer and we asked our lawyer to prepare a letter in which we were basically interpreting the law and explaining the reason why we wanted to keep open, just for giving the authority the signal and the message that we are carefully reading it, we follow it, but at the same time, considering that it's not fully clear, we interpret it in this way, and we are going forward in this way for the good of the business, respecting all the health instruction, the distance between the people, the cleaning of the machinery, and everything. But this is, I think, an important thing that everybody could do. That is official law, interpretation from a specialist, which is a lawyer, and in case also responding to the authority, giving our interpretation of it, and not, let me say, waiting that they come to you and they check to you. Because this, I think, is always seen as a proactive attitude of interpretation of what they rightly do in a rush. Did I explain myself well about this point, or probably?
Yeah, yes, very clear, and I think that's very useful. Okay. Question: in Italy, are you getting the sense that this is beginning to finish? Is that the sense that people are getting, that this is beginning to pass, or is it the sense that it's continuing to grow? How are people perceiving it now?
This is a very good question. To be honest, my personal view is that we are still in the middle of the river. We are still in the middle of the river, and why do I say so? First of all, because if I look at the numbers of everything, so people infected, people died, and so on, we are in a stable situation. So it's not a situation which is going down. The second reason why I say so is because the fact that in Italy the introduction of the restriction was gradually, unfortunately also the resolution will be gradually. Because in other, for what we heard of the experience of other countries that were affected before us by COVID-19, the rules were more stricted immediately. And they also were able probably to respect the restriction quite stronger. So in that situation, probably you have more chances to solve it in a reasonable period of time. In Italy, just consider that the shutdown of everything was just last week, 10 days ago. So on the 20th of March, if I remember well. So that means that you need still time to go over the situation.
I see, and so we're running out of time. Maybe one last message. Sorry, one last message that you would have, kind of summarizing what you learned, or advice that you would have for a company or a colleague of yours, another business person in a country that is just beginning to experience the pandemic. What would be the main messages that you would want to send?
Two things. Keep cool blood, because it's an issue, it's a big problem, but if you keep cool blood, you can face it rather than going in complete confusion. Second, using the common good sense, because at the end, it's a situation that was not already seen and foreseen by anybody, so it's new for everybody. So everybody is trying to manage this in the best way as possible. The best way we can do as entrepreneur, as head of a company, is to use the common good sense.
Great, thank you so much. And can you do you have social media accounts for your company, maybe a Twitter handle or Instagram or something?
We have yes, we have Instagram, absolutely.
What is it, so that maybe we can include it in the video also?
Yes, it's _SRL.
Can you say it again, sorry?
Bodyevai, BODYEVAI, _SRL.
Thank you so much for your time and best of luck.
Thank you. The same to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.